Girls, children of all ages. Welcome to Robert's Sports Show. I'm your host, Robert. As we begin NCAA Week 6 of the college football season, we have 8 teams that are currently 5-0. We have 3 teams that are 4-0. 2 out of the ACC are 5-0, 1 out of the Big 10, 1 out of the Big 12, 4 out of the SEC, 1 out of the Pac-12 is undefeated, and we have the independent Notre Dame that's 5-0. How is the committee going to place an independent team? We have 5 Power 5 team conferences, 4 playoff spots. Now you throw an undefeated Notre Dame in there? We could have 2 Power 5 teams, conferences not make the playoffs. Wow, the playoff system is going to explode. Alright, so in week 5 I was 19-8 in win-loss, which brings the season total of 90-25. Against the spread I was 12-15, which brings the season total to 57-65. And over-under I was 9-18, which brings the season total to 59-63. First game we have the SMU Mustangs at 2-3 versus the UCF Knights at 4-0. The Knights are favored by 24. I've been winning, covering, and over on the 71. Connecticut Huskies 1-4 versus the Memphis Tigers 3-2. The Memphis Tigers are favored by 35. I have been winning, covering, and over on the 77.5. Next we have the Naval Midshipmen at 2-2 versus the Air Force Falcons 1-3. Air Force is favored by 3.5. I'm giving a 3.5 to Navy. I got Navy winning, covering a 3.5, and over on the 57. Next we have the Clemson Tigers at 5-0 versus the Wake Forest Demon Deacons at 3-2. Clemson favored by 17. I've been winning, covering, and over on the 62. The Florida State Seminoles 3-2 versus the Miami Hurricanes 4-1. The Hurricanes are favored by 12.5. I got them winning, covering, and over on the 51. Next we have the Maryland Terrapins 3-1 versus the Michigan Wolverines 4-1. They've won 4 straight. Their only loss was the opening week to Notre Dame. The Wolverines are favored by 17. I got Maryland covering the 17, and I'm taking over on the 52.5. We have the 4-1 Indiana Hoosiers versus the 5-0 Ohio State Buckeyes. Ohio State favored by 25. Crazy. Buckeyes win, cover the 25, and over on the 62.5. Next we have the 0-4, the winless Nebraska Cornhuskers versus the 3-1 Wisconsin Badgers. The Badgers are favored by 20.5. I've been winning, covering it over in the 56. Next, also the winners of 4 straight, the Texas Longhorns, 4-1 winners of 4 straight versus the undefeated 5-0 Oklahoma Sooners. Boomer Sooner. Sooners are favored by 7.5. I got them winning, covering it over on the 59.5. Next, we have the Kansas Jayhawks at 2-3 versus the undefeated 4-0 West Virginia Mountaineers, who will also be undefeated when this game is over. I got the Mountaineers winning. I do have the Jayhawks covering the 29 and under on the 61. Next, out of the Conference USA, we have the undefeated 4-0 North Texas Mean Green versus the winless UTEP Miners at 0-5. North Texas is favored by 25.5. I have them winning, covering, and over on the 54. Next, we have the Old Dominion Monarchs, 1-4, the only win versus the Virginia Tech Hokies. Interesting. Upset there from last week versus the Florida Atlantic Owls, who are 2-3. Florida Atlantic is favored by 14.5. I do have the Owls winning. I have the Monarchs covering the 14.5 and under on the 68. The University of Alabama Blazers, Birmingham, 3-1 versus the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs, also 3-1. I have the Blazers winning. Louisiana Tech is favored by 9. I'm giving the 9 to UAB. Louisiana Tech will cover the 9 and over on the 57. Next, I have the Utah State Aggies at 3-1 versus the 3-2 BYU Cougars. I'm taking the Aggies. I'm giving them the 2.5. The BYU is favored by. I have the Aggies covering the 2.5 and over in the 54.5. And next I have the undefeated 5-0 Notre Dame Fighting Irish versus the 3-1 Virginia Tech Hokies. This is the only game left on Notre Dame's schedule that they should be scared. If they win this and go to 6-0, I think they will win out. The Fighting Irish are favored by 5. Of course I'm picking it to win to cover the 5 and under on the 54. This could be a very interesting defensive game. The Fighting Irish are only giving up 18 points a game while the Hokies are giving up 20. Next we have the Northern Illinois Huskies at 2-3 versus the 2-3 Ball State Cardinals. Northern Illinois is favored by 3.5. The Cardinals are at home. I'm giving them the 3.5. I got them winning, covering, and under on the 50.5. Next we have the Ohio Bobcats 2-2 versus the Kent State Golden Flashes at 1-4. Ohio is favored by 12.5. I have them winning, covering, and over on the 69.5. Next we have the Bowling Green Falcons at 1-4 versus the 2-2 Toledo Rockets. Toledo is favored by 20.5. I do have the Rockets winning. I got the Falcons covering the 20.5 and over on the 73.5. Next we have the San Diego State Aztecs at 3-1. 3 straight wins. Their only loss was to Stanford. Boise State Broncos are also 3-1 with 3 straight wins. Their only loss was to Oklahoma State. Who's got a better loss? Boise State is favored by 14.5. I have them winning, covering, and over in the 51. Next, out of the Pac-12, we have the Washington Huskies 4-1. They won 4 straight. Their only loss was to Auburn versus the winless UCLA Bruins, who are 0-4. Washington favored by 3 touchdowns on the road. I got them winning, covering those 3 touchdowns, and over in the 50.5. Next, we have the Utah Utes at 2-2 versus the Stanford Cardinals 4-1. Their only loss was to Notre Dame. They were favored by 5 at home. I got them winning, covering, and over on the 47. Next, we have the Alabama Crimson Tide, who are 5-0, who will go undefeated this year more than likely, versus the Arkansas Razorbacks 1-4. Bama is favored by 33.5. Win, cover, and over on the 16.5. Tudu is a really good quarterback. Which Jalen Hurts was also a good quarterback, but I can see Tui actually leaving after this year and Hurts having the job next year. Next we have the Vanderbilt Commodores at 3-2 versus the undefeated Georgia Bulldogs. Just like Alabama Crimson Tide, they'll go undefeated the rest of the season probably. SEC championship game. Georgia's favored by 26.5. I do have Vandy covering the 26.5 and taking over on the 52. Next, with the Auburn Tigers 4-1. Their only loss was to a surprising LSU team this year versus the Mississippi State Bulldogs 3-2. Tigers favored by 3. Tiger beats a Bulldog. Tigers cover the 3 under on the 44.5. And last but not least, we have the Georgia State Panthers at 2-3 versus the 4-1 Troy Trojans. They've won 4 straight. Their only loss was opening week loss to Boise State. I have Troy winning, covering at 15.5 and over on the 57. All right, so that's going to wrap up week 6 of the NCAA college football season. Make sure you check out Robert Sports Show in week 5 of the NFL season and also the MLB playoff preview along with all the NASCAR and all the pro wrestling stuff. As always, thanks for watching the Robert Sports Show. Don't just have a great day. Have a spiffy day. Robert Sports Show, your YouTube leader in sports channel content.